Hello there, this is Satya, and one of the key ideas of plexus is to make the points interact between each other. We'll see how to do that in just a few minutes. So let me go ahead and create a new comp, a new solid, and let me apply plexus. And let me add geometry, say a primitives, which creates a cube by default. And let's set it, kind of decrease it because it's a little big for our composition here. And let me increase the point size so they're more visible. And let me go to vector and add noise. And I create this random set of data. Let me add a new 3D camera. And let me increase the points again so they're more visible. Okay, so we have these points. The whole point of plexus is to create some sort of interaction between them. That's what one of the main features of plexus. So you have, excuse me, you have various different kinds of options here to create some sort of interaction between them. One of the popular ones is lines. It lets you create lines between these points. If you can't see them because thickness is too. Okay, now you see all these lines here, which are created between these points. Now, if you don't see lines here by default, you should increase the maximum distance. So what exactly does the lines renderer do? It creates lines between these points based on the distance between them. As the distance between the points increases, you can control various properties like opacity over distance and thickness over distance. For example, actually, let me create a new comp to show you more clearly. Let me create a new solid, apply plexus, let me create a new light, call it light 1, and let me duplicate it to light 2. So I have two lights here, and let me go ahead and apply lines object here, and the points are too small. Actually, sorry, you need a lights object, which is you need a layers object here. Set the object type to lights and light type to points, so it gets the data from the lights here in the composition. And now you can see the lights here, and we already have the lines under, but you don't see any lines here because the distance between these 2 points is more than the maximum distance. So nothing is, no lines are rendered here. So if you increase the maximum distance, you see a line, and you can crank it all the way up and you see a line here. Let me make the thickness a little more so it's more obvious. Now you can control various properties based on the distance between these 2 points. I can control the opacity. For example, in this case, the opacity stays constant until half the distance, and afterwards it gradually decays. So to demonstrate it, say the distance between those is increasing, and after a certain point gradually fades out. Well, the maximum distance is too high here. Let's just put it back to 300. Oops. Okay. And as you can see, the distance between these 2 points increase, it gradually fades out because the graph here is in a certain way that after a certain distance, the opacity gradually fades out. But if you put it to fill, I mean, it always stays constant throughout the whole distance. And as the distance increases, it stays constant, and after it reaches the maximum distance here, no lines are drawn. You could have different kinds of graphs here. For example, you could have in a way that such that the opacity is really high when the distance between them is more, and as the points approach towards each other, they gradually fade out to nothing. So you could control a lot of properties here based on distance. You can also control the thickness. For example, you could have a certain way such that the thickness gradually decreases to almost zero throughout the distance. As the distance between them increases, the thickness gradually decreases to zero. And this is how the UI works for properties over distance. You obviously have some presets here, which in this case, the distance gradually increases to a certain point. I mean, the opacity gradually increases to a certain distance and stays constant, and it goes down. So that's how the property over distance works in plexus. You could have not just for lines, but for any other objects which have anything over distance. That's how this works. So let's get back here, and you have a lot of different points, and you can control the maximum distance. The more the number of maximum distances are, the more opaque the lines are. I could set it back to 200, and there's another slider here called maximum number of vertices to search. That means for every vertex here, it searches for these many number of points, and after it reaches that limit, it stops drawing any more lines. If you set it to 2, only each point is connected up to a maximum of 2 other points. If you set it to 5, you see more lines here. If you set it all the way to 30, you see like a lot of different lines. And as you can always control the opacity over distance like this. So this is what creates the unique look that Plexus has. And lines is just one type of interaction between points in Plexus 2. For example, you could also have triangles. To do that, let me add the triangulation object here. And you see this is a whole bunch of triangles added here. Let me decrease the maximum distance so you see less number of triangles being added, and you see that all these triangles being added here. And you have different modes like the Hero's triangles and outer surface and mesh triangulation, etc. They all have their own purpose, which we'll get back to later when I explain everything in detail with respect to the triangulation renderer. And even in this case, I could control various properties like the opacity over distance. You could make that as the points get closer, they're completely transparent, and as the points are far away, they're completely opaque, or any different way you want. So this is how interactions work in Plexus. Hope you guys find it useful. Thank you.